I found myself unexpectedly at the UC Davis Arboretum, which is so relaxing. But I think the last time I came here, my grandma, who was obviously living at the time, it's probably been 15 years, my grandma and my mom were with me, and I had us kind of scrambling up and down slopes, and my grandma fell and skinned her hand, and she was totally okay. Um, and then it became a funny story. But it's really funny how, sometimes, even while people are alive, but after they're gone, those little scrapes and mishaps become like something that we remember fondly, because I don't know, I think there was bonding over them. There was probably, brain chemicals released as well, and everything was okay. She wasn't hurt, but it ended up being a big joke, and now it's one of the good memories when she was still mobile and able to get around and do stuff, that we have and can talk about. And even with my dad, there's things like, um, driving the whole family, to Wyoming, from Kansas, which is quite a drive, and him not being willing to stop and put oil in the car. So, ending up with sort of a smoking car, due to not having oil added to it, which could have been, pretty bad in terms of the car and also us getting a little bit stranded. But, everything also turned out okay. And it's one of those things that we can, talk about with a chuckle, and, um, remember times that weren't even really the best times, but they ended up, being kind of, bonding and funny, with our loved ones. So it's not always just remembering them perfectly or even ourselves perfectly. It's really like, maybe how did we feel in the experience, and then did it become a little bit of a, um, family or friend, joke or bonding, experience afterwards. But it's always good to get out in nature, whether it's urban nature or, the wilderness nature, like touching a tree, even, hugging a tree can calm our nervous system and, help reduce stress. And, it's not going to cure grief, but it can reduce it, for a little bit and help us feel better. Or even just, it doesn't have to be hugging a tree. It could be touching a plant. It could be an indoor plant. I know with my indoor plants, petting them or talking to them, like that's stress relieving. And the same thing can happen too with, petting a dog or picking up or, kissing a small child, or, even, um, our other loved ones. But there's something about being out in nature that's just really, good for our soul, good for our spirit, can help us connect, but can also help us decompress and de stress. And it doesn't have to be for a long time, even just a few minutes, can be a really good reset for grief and stress. And it's important, no matter, no matter how intense the thing is that we're going through, that we take care of ourselves so that we can, have the best life we can. Our loved ones wouldn't want us to not be enjoying our lives or having a good time, and taking care of ourselves and managing stress and grief can also, help us better show up, for other people, for the planet, for the world. And sometimes there'll be a little bit of a funny story to go along with it. I actually fell myself today, going down one of the steep slopes with pine needles, that was pretty slick, and my shoes are just regular tennis shoes, and I just slid right down, and it's like, oh well, I see how grandma fell. Was pretty easy to do. um, but it's one way to keep their memory alive. Oh gosh, with my aunt. um, my cousin and I were driving. We were on. It's probably about a six hour road trip back from visiting cousins in western Kansas near the Colorado border, and it was snow and cold and late at night, or at least it seemed late at night, as young as we were. And um, I don't know what happened, but she ran out of gas. So she left. I mean, this sounds like horrible now. I don't think people would do this these days because they have cell phones. But she had my cousin and I get, wasn't really a trunk, it was kind of like a hatchback. She had us get back there with the blanket and like curl up with each other and kind of go to sleep. We weren't very old. I mean, maybe like 6 and 8 or 5 and 8, not very old at all. And she, walked to the service station to get gas and bring it back so we could get home. I mean, that could have been really, really catastrophic. And now that she's gone, it's just a funny story. And even if she was with us, it might be a funny story. But it's like, we're like, do you remember that time that Anna, ran out of gas? So just it's interesting, like what stays with us. We don't remember everything. We remember what our brain marks as important. So sometimes our brain marks events that are important that don't necessarily seem positive at the time, but then later on they can actually end up being, something that we've actually remembered because our brain marks them that way. And then, we have that unexpected memory, of our loved one, whether they're with us or not. Um, but I wouldn't trade any of those memories. I mean, they're kind of silly. Or like my dad trying to make a doghouse, and he wasn't really um, too, I don't want to say mechanically inclined, but I guess not really too mechanically inclined. And like, I don't know, I think the doghouse ended up without a roof or without a door for the dog or something. And it's just like really cute and funny. And of course, we can think about, when they were at their best, like, my dad coaching my t-ball team and my softball team. And, he'd use lingo that I didn't understand. And then he'd have to sort of explain it to me, what he meant by take one. I thought take one meant hit it as hard as I could. I didn't know take one meant like just let it go, let the pitch go by, because the pitcher's not doing very well pitching. Yeah, it's really windy today. Yeah, or my grandma, like she was such a hard worker. Like whenever, I don't know if us kids needed to like do something like clean something or wash the car or whatever, she would be right in there, like working on it, just, physically fit and jumping right in. Or my aunt kind of always being there, if there was stuff that I didn't want to talk to my parents about, or, really just wanted that older relative, but without any pressure. She was always there, Aunt Anna. And I know she's still, still with us in spirit. Or my grandma Annie, who made, she made the best desserts and like cooked some kind of gross stuff too. But like she would always make special little dishes for me. Um, I didn't really like, she called it macaroni salad, which was basically just macaroni noodles with mayonnaise and probably pickles and onions. and I didn't like the mayonnaise or the pickles or onions, so she would make me a special bowl of just like macaroni noodles, and then it got to the point where I didn't really like that, but like, and by that time she was sick, and like it just was sweet that she remembered, and so I would take the macaroni noodles, and like she just, it was the care that she showed, and I could have told her, hey, look, I don't like these anymore, but like it felt good to let her do something for me, especially again knowing that her time was pretty limited. Like she almost died so many times. We lost track, but then she didn't, and she'd come home again, and she'd be there like the matriarch that she was, and she didn't quite get to see me graduate from high school. She almost did. She almost made it that long, and I know she was trying. Just really, really sweet woman. One of the best. Grandma Annie. I don't know if you ever really got to leave Kansas much. I know we went to California for my uncle's wedding and went to Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm, but other than maybe you going to Colorado to see your sister, I don't know if you got to travel too much, but you know, I don't think we took you for granted, but I don't know if any of us really said I love you like we did. So I guess I'll say it now. I love you, Grandma Annie. You were the best. And I know your life was really hard, but you were there for us too, and that meant a lot. So it's never really too late to tell our loved ones we love them, even if we didn't do it in real life or enough or close enough to them passing. I really believe that, even me saying it now, so many years later, like it does something for me. And I think she knows, her spirit knows in some small way. It's really cool. And I'm on this gorgeous, beautiful walk with a little glimpse of the creek, which is fun.